One more. One more. Beautiful. Good. That's what we've got to bring him on to. Nobody can take them.
Had to wear the Kronk merch. Shout out Kronk. So first session is strength. We're basically going to be doing some explosive weights, high intensity, short amount of time. We're working on our sprint systems.
If I can beat Jake Paul, then excuse my French, what the is Anthony Joshua going to do to Jake Paul? I think my dad said that AJ could beat him with his prick, and I completely will back that up. Even if AJ had a broken arm in there, it still wouldn't go past a minute.
Anthony Joshua has been training with quiet intensity as he prepares for potential showdown with Jake Paul. His camp footage highlights strength sessions, footwork drills, and a composed confidence as he sharpens every part of his game. On the other side, Jake Paul is also putting in serious work, aiming to show that he can compete with a world-class athlete. The build-up reveals both fighters pushing hard, adding even more intrigue to this unusual and highly talked-about matchup.
One thing I knew, he was a hard worker. Second thing I knew, genetically, he's very gifted. But I knew after the evaluation we had some work to do. Now I've seen his body already evolve into something totally different. I've seen his conditioning evolve into something different. And more importantly, his understanding of his body and why he's doing things the way he's doing them. That's the most important evolution that I've seen.
Inside his training camp, Anthony Joshua is working with the confidence of a man who knows he has every advantage heading into a fight with Jake Paul. Still, he's not taking anything lightly. Joshua is pushing himself daily, determined to make a statement. His mission is straightforward: step into the ring, take control from the opening bell, and silence all the talk coming from Paul's side.
Timing on it, that's all that matters.
Yeah. Because early on, if you look for power, you waste energy. Exactly. Then that power evaporates. When they're tired, you ain't got the power to take them out. So you've got to open up in the gap for no reason. So just relax, flow.
Just pop off
Good
that
feet,
reach.
you were saying.
Just pop off that reach. And any time you move, that should be that. That should be that. Yeah. And then the controls down the middle. All right.
Yeah, yeah. That's what
control, smooth, relax, relax, relax. Last minute, mate. That'll do you then. Uppercut. Good. Right hand. Good. 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 Left hook high. Good. Uppercut high. And again.
Eddie Hearn has clarified that the financial offer presented to Anthony Joshua is simply too big to pass up, especially at this stage of Joshua's career. Having already accomplished nearly everything a heavyweight can, Joshua is now in a position where taking a lucrative fight is a strategic move, not a desperate one. To Hearn emphasized that boxing has always been about both legacy and earnings. When a fighter receives a massive payday for a matchup he can realistically manage without taking excessive risks, it becomes a sensible business decision. From Hearn's perspective, Joshua isn't doing anything unusual by accepting the deal. He's taking advantage of an opportunity that makes perfect sense, and he added that no fighter would turn down easy, well-timed money that fits their training schedule and broader career outlook. With Jake Paul putting such a huge purse on the table, Hearn believed Joshua is simply walking through a door that opened naturally. After all, boxing is a business, and major offers should always be taken seriously.
Ring by Mike Coppinger, that one's in the works and looking likely for December. What can you tell me?
Yeah, not yet. I mean, there has been conversations, obviously. I think it comes down to how true, they are. Jake Paul is that he actually wants to fight. I mean, he's a madman if he wants to fight. But for some reason, and he thinks he can beat AJ. And I have to be honest, we were going to have a run out in December over 8 rounds against a bloke you've never heard of. And we may end up having a run out against Jake Paul for a career high payday. I don't see how we can turn it down.
When I asked you about it a couple of days ago, you said that at that time you never really got into the financials. Have those been discussed now? Have you discussed the financial element?
Yeah, there has been some conversations around that, and it is, it's a huge amount of money. And I think AJ would be mad if he didn't do it, and I think he will do it if Jake Paul is genuine. We may wake up tomorrow with these people and they've announced another fight. Honestly, anything could happen. So I still can't get my head around the fact that this guy wants to challenge AJ. Listen, respect to him if it's true, but we shall see.
Two to end on that note. I spoke to Alfie Sharman earlier. He said that himself or DAZN have had no conversations about AJ potentially taking that fight. Obviously, AJ is exclusive to DAZN. What's the situation with regards to that? Because I know they'd want
apparently the fight's done. Obviously, it's not done because those conversations have to take place. I'm very confident that I can have some positive conversations with DAZN. Obviously, we'll be on a clock, but it's a 50-50.
Last one from me. I saw Chris McKenna tweeted that Anthony Joshua currently doesn't have a British Boxing Board of Control licence. Obviously, it's not unusual for someone who isn't fighting currently and he's inactive to let it run out. But he would have to apply for one to face Jake Paul again. And then they'd have to approve a fight. Do you think that'd be a similar...
Point out that Anthony Joshua's resume is stacked with some of the hardest-hitting heavyweights of this generation. Even after more than a year away from the ring, they argue the gap in experience between him and Jake Paul is still massive. Joshua spent years competing against world champions, dangerous punchers, and elite athletes, opposition that social media-driven fighters have never had to deal with. While time off can affect any boxer, analysts maintain that Joshua's fundamentals, power, reach, and overall ring IQ still give him a huge edge over someone who is essentially still developing. They also note that Joshua's recent losses don't diminish his position in this matchup, because the level of fighters he has faced is far above anything Paul has experienced. Their consensus is clear. Even with the layoff, Joshua's skill set is more than sufficient to dictate the pace, control every range, and take over the fight whenever he wants.
Right? And just to clarify, I don't class Otto Wallin as a very competitive fight. Every competitive fight that AJ is in from now until the end of his career and has been in for the last few years, I believe has taken something out of him. Every time he's in a competitive fight, even when he's won, and I'm not saying taken out of him to the extent where he's no longer a good fighter, no longer can do anything, but every single one has taken one out of him. So let's say, for example, you go down the Tony Yoka route and you can sell it as the 2 Olympic gold medalists and whatever. It's a lose-lose, mate. You're expected to knock him out. If you don't, then you go the distance. I think that's going to take something out of you. I actually think that this could be better prep for a Tyson Fury fight.
Do you mean mentally as well? Because he smokes him and it looks great, and then he's confident.
This is what I'm saying, right? Not just from a stylistic boxing standpoint, but from the mental standpoint of the fact that if you go in there and you smoke Jake Paul, straight away, all of a sudden, it's headline news, it's massive, and as well as that, you're coming in off the back of something that's impressive, right? We all felt like the Francis Ngannou performance was really impressive, but it wasn't followed up with an impressive performance. So it doesn't actually determine whether or not...
This is worse. This is worse than that. I don't know what you're thinking, Lawrence, but the Ngannou one, you could at least say heavyweight. You could say that his pedigree. So we didn't really...
On the distance
while
of
he
Fury.
was coming from a different kind of method of fighting, end of the day, he's still a champion. We're talking about Jake Paul, guys.
Do you know what's mad? Can I just add something in before Lazar jumps in? There are Americans, and I've heard them in the last 24 hours, giving Jake Paul a better chance than Francis Ngannou, saying he has the boxing experience. Francis Ngannou didn't have enough boxing experience. Because that's how Americans view this whole thing.
Well, no, Francis Ngannou did have more boxing experience than Jake Paul.
Well, yeah. But that's what they're saying is Francis Ngannou had 1 fight, Jake Paul's had 10, 12.
10 rounds, and you little say I'm licking his ass. 10 rounds of Tyson Fury, will gain you more experience than everything Jake Paul.
Catterall has heavily criticized the choice to sanction the fight, rather than treat it as an exhibition. He argues that making a legitimate professional contest places Jake Paul in real danger, as Joshua's natural punching power is on a completely different level from anything Paul has dealt with. Catterall explains that exhibitions allow for a safer environment and controlled pace, but those safeguards disappear the moment it becomes an official bout. He worries that Paul may not fully grasp the impact of true heavyweight, especially someone with Joshua's size, pedigree, and knockout record can deliver. Catterall questions whether the desire for entertainment should ever outweigh a fighter's safety, suggesting that this particular matchup crosses into hazardous territory. His main point is that while the spectacle may attract fans, facing a former world champion under full professional rules is nothing like the influencer-style fights Paul has built his career on.
Against Dubois.
Yeah.
Not the same AJ maybe of the past. He's 36. He's got a chance to earn £70 million, maybe to add to the 150 he's already got. Why wouldn't he do it? Because why would he want to maybe for 5 or 10 million fight a Fabio Wardley who's dangerous, Itoma who's dangerous? Surely from an AJ point of view, it makes sense.
Makes sense. From any fighter's point of view, it makes sense because you're in... Listen, belts don't pay your mortgage, do they? And I know he's got a lot of dough anyway, but 70 million... If someone's going to throw you 70 million quid to fight a lad that struggled and lost to Tommy Fury, you're going to take it, aren't you?
Yep.
So from AJ's point of view, I completely get that. From Jake Paul's point of view, you're leveraging your audience in the world of boxing and making a ton of cash fighting the former 2-time unified heavyweight champion of the world. Mate, most boxing fans would bite your hand off at that opportunity, especially if you're throwing 70 million quid in the pot as well. I've no problem with the promoters. My problem is that it can't be a legitimate fight. Let's be dead honest about this, right?
Eddie Hearn said it will be.
Listen, there is no commission on the planet that can authorise that fight. It's a 2-time unified heavyweight world champion, still in his athletic prime. You just said he's 36. We're not talking Mike Tyson age of 50-odd here now, are we? Olympic gold medalist. He's had 13 world title fights as AJ. 13 of them against the very best guys.
And could take his head off.
Like he done to Ngannou.
It is dangerous.
Yeah.
It is absolutely dangerous. Like I've just said, Jake Paul struggled with Tommy Fury. The levels between these two guys are ridiculous. The commissions cannot sanction that as a legitimate fight. There has to be a rule change. It has to be an exhibition. And then you can have a little bit of a move.
Hold on, Gab. Let's go back to proper boxing. I'm with Cats here. You know, this is ridiculous.
Big story, though.
Oh, listen, it's because it's AJ, because it's Jake Paul. It's going to do numbers and capture people's eyes, right? But there's no.
Experts note that fans have spent years hoping to see Anthony Joshua finally share the ring with Tyson Fury, a matchup that has been teased endlessly without ever becoming reality. Many supporters now feel confused that instead of pushing for that long-awaited showdown, Joshua is moving toward a fight with Jake Paul. Analysts explain that negotiations, promotional conflicts, and timing issues have repeatedly stalled the Fury bout. In contrast, the Jake Paul fight has been far easier to arrange and comes with an instant financial payoff. They acknowledge that fans may be disappointed, but from Joshua's perspective, he is simply choosing the option that fits his circumstances right now. While a Fury fight remains a dream scenario, the business side of boxing often sends fighters down unexpected roads that fight could end very quickly. Kozora points out that Paul has never taken a shot from someone with Joshua's size, strength, or pedigree, making the likely outcome obvious. His remarks highlight both concern and realism, reminding audiences that the sport carries real danger, especially when a gap in experience and physicality is this significant.
Joshua's next fight in the coming days. And now it looks very much like it's going to be Jake Paul, the controversial figure. Whatever you think about him, he makes a lot of money, huge views, sells fights, but he was supposed to fight Gervonta Davis. That is not happening. And now he's potentially facing one of the biggest names in heavyweight boxing. Whenever you mention the name Anthony Joshua, people are interested. And of course, the fight people still want to see is Anthony Joshua against Tyson Fury. And that's the dream fight which Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren and Turki Al-Sheikh are trying to make next year. But Eddie Hearn has said, we need Anthony Joshua back in that ring. He's not been in the ring since losing to Daniel Dubois in devastating fashion at Wembley Stadium last year. But if he'd have said that time ago that his next fight would be Jake Paul, not a single person on this planet would believe me. But it does look like now that Anthony Joshua, the former world champion, is about to face Jake Paul in a month's time.
Mate, it's a great thing. So we're going to shut that Jake Paul nonsense away. AJ's going to knock him out.
Jake, would it be similar, do you think, to the way AJ knocked out Francis Ngannou? Because Eddie Hearn's just said about the rage maybe AJ has.
It'll be worse. It'll be worse. It'll be worse.
1 round?
1 round. But if he goes past 3 rounds, we don't know what's going to happen.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. If AJ goes in there trying to mess around, trying to show his boxing skills, nah. He's going to go in there and light him out. That's what we want.
Yeah. I mean, is it something you'd love to see as well? I know, I mean, you've known AJ for a while.
We're all going to be tuning in to watch it. That is it. There's nothing else. December, before
Fury weighed in by comparing his own fight with Jake Paul to the far bigger challenge Paul would face against Anthony Joshua. Fury said that if he was able to beat Paul, then a fighter of Joshua's size, strength, and pedigree would have an even easier time. In his view, this matchup isn't about comparing skill sets. It's about understanding the different levels within the sport. Fury believes Paul is venturing into territory he's simply not equipped for, and that Joshua's physical presence alone would cause problems from the opening seconds. Drawing from his own experience in the ring with Paul, Fury said he has a clear read on Paul's abilities and limitations, which only reinforces his confidence that
beat Jake Paul. Excuse my French, what the fuck is Anthony Joshua going to do to Jake Paul? I think my dad said that AJ could beat him with his prick, and I completely will back that up. Even if AJ had a broken arm in there, it still wouldn't go past a minute. To be quite honest with you, and as a safety aspect, there's no way that fight can go ahead. At the end of the day, my God, how good does it make me look? Huh? He gets beat by Jake Paul. Well, that automatically makes me 2-time heavyweight champion of the world, doesn't it? There's no proper way. I've got to laugh about it. How are we even talking about this? He got his nut boxed off by me a little over 2 years ago. And now all of a sudden, he's talking about fighting Anthony Joshua. It's like, come on. Like, you can't be serious. He can't beat me. I'm not Anthony Joshua, am I? So
Allen doubles down on his earlier warnings, making it clear that this matchup isn't something Jake Paul can stroll into unprepared. He points out that Joshua's sense of timing and raw physical power can flip the momentum in an instant, and he questions whether Paul understands the level of intensity a true elite heavyweight brings. According to Allen, the moment Joshua begins to press forward and dictate the pace, everything could change fast. He emphasizes that this isn't just a tough challenge. It's a situation where the physical dangers of an uneven matchup become impossible to ignore.
Lost to Tommy Fury. Anthony Joshua cannot box Jake Paul. Horrific. He's dangerous for one, and two, if Jake Paul even lands a glove on him, it just diminishes everything that he's achieved. Jake Paul won't last 2 minutes for me. Never mind Anthony Joshua. It's ridiculous. It's a joke.
If AJ does say yes to going in against Jake Paul, does he harm his legacy?
I would lose a bit of respect for him. I think a lot of boxing people would as well, to be honest. Why would he box him? 2-time heavyweight champion of the world, one of the best heavyweights the last 20 years, held British boxing on his back. People might say he deserves to box Jake Paul. But why though? Why would he do it?
Did you lose respect from when he fought Ngannou? Did you lose respect from Fury when he fought Ngannou?
Ngannou's a serious fighting man. World champion in the mixed martial arts.
It's a worrying thing, potentially, the damage that AJ could do to Jake Paul.
He'll hurt him. Yeah, Jake Paul is a cruiserweight. You wouldn't put the Midlands area cruiserweight champion in with Anthony Joshua. So why would you put Jake Paul in there? Just because he's a superstar, whatever. I don't know what he does. What does he do? What is he?
A YouTuber.
It's just not worth it. He's got enough money as it is. Why risk all that for a few more quid? I don't like it. I hope it.
David Haye talked about the uncertainty that always surrounds a boxing match, reminding fans that even when one man is a clear favorite, nothing is guaranteed once the first punch is thrown. He admits Jake Paul is stepping into real danger, but he also adds that no fighter, no matter how experienced, should ever assume an opponent has nothing to offer. In Haye's view, Joshua must approach the bout with full concentration and avoid thinking it will be a walkthrough, because boxing has a history of delivering shock moments. Haye goes on to say that while Joshua is older than he used to be, he's still physically imposing and technically sharp. He's not showing the kind of decline some aging fighters experience, which means he still has every tool needed to cause serious trouble for Paul. According to Haye, if Joshua sticks to a disciplined strategy, the gap in experience and skill will become obvious early, exposing the contrast between a proven heavyweight and a still-growing crossover boxer.
It was only a couple of months ago that we were told it was really close, and then it was Jake and Tank, and now that's off for other reasons. Your initial reaction to the fact that December Miami might be on?
Yeah, jumping from Gervonta Davis all the way up to Anthony Joshua seems absurd. It doesn't seem like it's a reality.
Seems very Jake Paul.
It seems, but you know, sometimes these crazy things. Who would have ever thought Francis Ngannou would get a shot against Tyson Fury? When we first started talking about it, it's like, that's never going to happen. And when it did, we saw Tyson Fury have a very, very tough night, get knocked down and scrape through on points. Anything's possible in boxing. I think the chances of Jake Paul beating Anthony Joshua, I don't know. He's got a very, very low chance. I can't see any way that Jake Paul can win a boxing match with 10, 12-ounce gloves on with Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua, you know, world champion, silver medalist, Olympic gold medalist, 2-time heavyweight champion. He's a top 10, top 5 in some people's arguments, heavyweight, and he hasn't gone that far over the hill. He's not Mike Tyson, nearly 60 years old. I can't see it happening, but if it can happen and AJ wants it, then obviously it's going to be a massive, massive payday as well as a massive spectacle. It would be an absolute crush box office numbers, and unfortunately for Jake, that will be potentially his last fight in boxing if that first bell rings.
I know your friend Derek had a few things to say about it last night, and he said AJ's got 3 rounds, and that's not that if it goes past 3, AJ's going to lose, but if it goes past 3, his quote was, people are going to go, you doing?
It depends how
he can't
he
go past 3.
It depends how he goes past 3 rounds. He could go out there and play with him and soften him up and make him look silly, or he could go out there, try and knock him out in the first round.
Wraps up today's video. Stay tuned for more, and I'll catch you in the next one.